how would you like to make your first million? And today we have Saneii with us, and he is the founder and CEO of Independent and EverThrive, an award-winning health tech company delivering remote care solutions through computers, tablets, and mobile phones, and even TVs. So has been a tech entrepreneur all his life, a lot of years of experience. So tell us, what are the 5 steps you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Harry, how are you? And it's great to be with you today and your audience. Okay, the first 5. I would say the first one is not necessarily a step, but in a belief in yourself. That's the first thing. You have to have permission to go succeed. You have to give yourself permission to go succeed. And I would say one of the biggest qualities of that is to make sure you have the perseverance to go and succeed. So if you believe in yourself and you're committed and you know you're going to go at it, that's step 1. The other one is, of course, you have to have some idea, some concept that you believe is worthwhile and makes a difference and solves a problem. It could be a problem you're having. It could be a problem somebody else is having. That's the next one. The third one is you have to find a way to test whether you're totally crazy or whether there's a there. And if you can do that test efficiently, you have a much better chance of success. In other words, you don't want to spend a lot of time and money and energy and treasure around whether you're right or whether you need to tweak things. So that's really a critical step is whatever you have, test it if you can locally, test it with friends, test it with family, test it with clients that are willing to work with you. It's not about making money there. It's not about growth. It's not about anything but just testing and refining and testing and refining. Once you have that formula, you're comfortable, you're onto something big, then you need funding and you need basically growth funding. And I would recommend that at that point, every dollar you get is not the same as others. So the next step is really important that you bring people on board, whether they're employees or whether they're investors or whether they're partners that are aligned with you culturally, aligned with you financially, and don't get in your way. They're helpful. You can learn from them and always be better, but you don't lose sight of the fact that you're going to be accountable for success. And if someone gives you money, you don't want to change everything because you got money from someone. That's really important, especially if you're going after VC money. You want to maintain control and accountability. And lastly is I would say just stay true to your culture, true to yourself, and good things will happen. So over time, it reduces lawsuits, it reduces people leaving, it reduces people not buying, it reduces people not recommending. So everything matters. How you interact with people matters. How you are matters. I'm looking at Harry's smiling face here. He's going to be successful because he's always smiling. He's got full of energy. So you got to have some of that as well with your employees, and people have to be able to trust you with their time, with their energy, and with their funds. And then great things happen.
It's your story. Why you decide to become an entrepreneur?
Why did I decide to become an entrepreneur? In this particular case, I think, I was probably doing similar things no matter what. In a big company or a small company, you work hard, you solve problems. And our last company, I was part of a team, very lucky and fortunate to be part of a great team. We grew that company to 50 million users worldwide, 50,000 enterprises, 28 countries. And so I was looking to see what to do after that. And that company was in the internet filtering space. So everyone needs to have access to the internet. It was employee based. So every employee needs access to the internet nowadays and for the last 20 years. And how do you allow them to access the things they need without getting into security issues, malware issues, overusage, personal usage, etc. So I was looking for a market that allowed us to solve a big problem just like the internet is a big problem, that is already big to begin with and is growing and is pretty much the same worldwide. So you don't always have the same issues that apply worldwide. The internet is a worldwide issue. So aging adults, aging citizens all over the world have the same challenges. And so I saw that and I said, wow, this looks very much like what we just did. Around the world, everyone is aging more. We're living longer. We have less people working under the people who are aging. We have less tax dollars, less revenues. And and we don't have the right technology to help folks yet. So how do we find the technology that's a sweet spot between no help, no one present, and having someone with you 24/7 or having a human being? There's got to be something we could do in the middle that solves that problem. That was very appealing to me, and that's how Independa was founded.
So out of the 500 millionaires we interview in this podcast, 1 out of 5 are tech millionaires from tech entrepreneurs. Is that easy to become millionaire in tech, or tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Well, I wouldn't know if it's easy or hard. I just think tech is rewarding for me personally and financially. But on the other hand, I would say that as you probably know these statistics, something like 7 out of 10 startups in tech fail within, I think it's 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly by
More.
10.
I think that is more than that.
Yeah, I think it's within 10 years is 9 out of 10. So the percentages are not relatively, comfortable. But if you have 1 out of 10, becoming successful and maybe 1 out of 10 becoming, multimillionaires, then it shows like there's a path. But I think you have to do a lot of things right and you have to be at the right place in the right time. But some of the other things I covered also help you increase your chances of that. It's not all chance at all. And so there's methodology and people, and it always takes a village anyway. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I don't know what, if you look at bubbles and you look at growth curves, you had the internet and people writing the internet, and then you had cell phones before then. If you think about that, that was also technology. And then you have the cloud, and then you have voice recognition, and now we have AI, and all of that. And there's these waves, and I think if you can ride an individual wave within technology, you improve your chances of those percentages.
So how you managed to stay alive for 17 years? This is a lot of pivoting and a lot of adapting to the market. So such a dynamic changing space that you are. You clearly you don't get bored, do you? So how you manage to stay alive?
That's probably a more meaningful question than you can imagine. But there were many times where we were almost not alive. COVID was very tough on us when COVID started. But again, I go back to perseverance, and you have to have this belief with evidence that what you're doing is meaningful and special, and others giving you the right input so that you can continue. I always say, if you hit your head against the wall once and you stop, you're a quitter. If you're hitting your head against the wall 99 times and you're still at it, you're an idiot. So sometimes you have to know when is the right time. But as long as you have evidence that the wall is cracking, or you can go under it or over it or above it, or you can fly or whatever, then you keep at it. And so we've been fortunate that we've had a lot of great people helping us do what we've done.
I agree with you in that one, because people go out there and say, don't give up, don't give up. Well, how many times have you seen a fly go to a glass window? So if you try, that is not working, you're going to have the same result. So unless that you open the door and you change the approach, it's never going to happen. So they don't give up. It goes with something else. Like, okay, you don't give up, but you have to change the approach, right? You cannot, exactly like you said, if you hit the wall 99 times, is doing exactly the same thing, well, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? You have to, it's a combination of don't give up, and change the approach. So can you tell us a little bit more for our tech entrepreneurs, tech founders, what that really means? Because it's quite impressive what you have done, to be quite frank with you, to stay in the so dynamic business with so many years where you had to change and change. Look, when you started, you're talking about internet and everything, and now you have to be competitive in the I world, and you have to keep up with new trends. And the issue with tech is that new trends coming every year. When it's not the internet, then it's the emails, then it's the Facebooks, then it's the NFT, then it's the blockchain, there is then this AI. So there are new flavor of the day, new waves all the time. So you have to pick the right one that can value your clients to put those last on because technology advanced and now more you have to pivot and pivot again and pivot again and keep your client happy. So any message that you have for the young entrepreneur that listen in the podcast and say, well, I'm gonna become a tech millionaire. I'm just listening Harry podcast. 1 out of 5 are tech millionaires. It doesn't matter what they say. This is easy. I got this. I'm gonna jump into tech. So what message do you have for the tech entrepreneurs, for people like you 20 years ago?
I would say the following, Harry. I would say, to your point about pivoting, there are things that you may need to pivot, and then there are things that you may need to never pivot. And the trick is to know which is which. And if I were to share with you my original vision and mission for Independa, it's literally identical to now. If I were to show our original presentation from Independa to someone today, they would look and say, "Oh, yeah, that's what you do." And so I think that's really, to me, was very important to see if we think we have something as a market, then let's go get it. If we don't have the market, then that's a major pivot. And it's like, okay, we're not in this market. Let's go to another market. Now, a couple things related to your comments. One is, okay, there's all these technologies that come about. There's maybe voice recognition, the Alexas of the world, or cryptography, or AI now, or cloud stuff. So what do? One is, does the technology overlap with us? Does it compete with us? Does it replace us, or does it help us? And then you take the right steps depending on what it is. If it's competing with you, then you have to incorporate it in a way that you can be better than the competition and keep going. If it has nothing to do with you, that's fine. Like cryptography, we didn't do anything with cryptography, although that's a big deal, and it's moving along. But AI certainly allowed us to do a lot of things differently, allowed us to be much more efficient with our engineering. We put an AI care companion in our platform, so you can have your own avatar and have a care companion, do social engagements. We then said, oh, what do we do more with that? Okay, we're going to use the care companion to actually help you use the product better. So not just with conversations, but how do you do this? How do you do that? Have you thought about this feature? So we're just taking it to the extreme. That's kind of working with it. But I will leave this question with the following answer. Sometimes you succeed based on what you say no to versus what you say yes to. So the question about pivot is always a very challenging one for me personally, because you want to stay focused, and focus goes against pivot, but it's really about problem solving. And how do you solve a problem? Sometimes you solve a problem by continuing to stay focused and making it through. Sometimes you solve a problem by, like you said, you're the fly and you keep getting the glass and you say, this problem's not solvable this way. Maybe it's not even the right problem to solve. We got to go solve another problem. But they all have to be under this overarching of what your vision is and what you want to do in the world and with your company. I think if you switch things around too often, then you're not saying no enough. And then you really end up being like what's called a turducken. You don't end up being like anything to anyone. You're chasing the next few dollars, and then you end up not having leverage anywhere.
This is important because it comes into your values and the culture that you have in your company. Like in our team, for example, we are a small team doing a lot of things. And This has been before AI. This has been since we are in business 20 years ago. So the mission, the vision, how we do things, and the culture and the values that what we do represent, I agree with you that that states. So now is somebody less supposed, right? That somebody say, okay, Harry gonna speak as earliest. They're gonna launch an AI multi AI agents solution, right? People already know what is coming with this because it's 20 years on the business. It's gonna be based on give the massive value to our clients. It's gonna be based in looking after them, give them a lot of value for money. It's gonna be based in something really, really good. Yeah, probably it's gonna be a lot of really be purple and colorful. They already know that that's coming because this is who I am.
It's my
And
favorite color, by the way. My favorite color.
so things never change when it comes to your culture, your values, uh, because the team that is with you for so many years, your values match their values. That's why they are with you, and you're together in a great mission. So now you're pivoting, but you're pivoting just in technology, but knowing values and how you run the company and how the people involved in the company agree with the values, right? And that's I think that's a secret sauce to have a business for so many years like you have, which I repeat is quite impressive in this space because it's exhausting. Yeah, I coach tech founders, and that get me really tired. Tech startup founder, yeah, I love them, but they are intense, right? To guide them and to give them support. Okay,
Yeah,
so go
and
ahead.
there are many cylinders to the engine, Harry, as you know. There's many cylinders. You might have a vision and a mission, but you may not be great at executing. Then you may be great at executing, but you may not have the right vision or the right strategy. You may have both of those, but you may not have the right resources to do engineering. You may have the right resource to do engineering, you create a product, but nobody is the right person to sell it at that point. You need to find the people to sell it, and it's ideally yourself. And then you have that, and how about people not knowing about you? So then you get into marketing. So you get all of that. Then you have the layer of administrative all around all that. And on top of that, you have to make sure you have money and financing to keep going, right? So that's a whole nother parallel. So all of that is sort of a beautiful engine that has to hit on all the cylinders. And if you really neglect any cylinder because you're really strong in this other part, it usually doesn't work out too well. You kind of have to make sure all of them hit at a good basic level.
Then after you put all this engine and everything is going so well, COVID comes. Like for example, I was doing international speaking tours right before COVID for different countries. You see the photos there: Singapore, Dubai, Mexico. I'm like a rock star, right? Doing all these conferences and staying in the hotels and everything. And then something happened that have nothing to do with you, and you take a lot of time, money, effort, energy to put something together and to put all these cylinders, and then something happened, and well, now you go to zero overnight and you have to pivot again. And I'm thinking, why this is always happening to me again? So to the point that I'm not even at the beginning, I'm like, oh my God, to start again. Now I just take it so light that when this COVID came thing, I say, oh God, okay, again. So uh, tell us how you overcome adversity and how you overcome challenges in business. And and when you're facing yourself like, oh wow, this is unfair. That I go people, team, products. Took me a lot of years to put all these cylinders, and the engine is going amazing, everything's going great, and overnight something comes and and you take a hit. And tell you one story just to support that. My brother called me the other day. I told me he has a big warehouse in Spain, and he import and export furniture and decoration product from Indonesia, and then he sell it all over Europe. And he have a big warehouse. I called me, told me, Harry, uh, guess you're not gonna believe what happened. I said, what happened? I said, well, it was a fire 10 kilometers far from the warehouse, but the wind pushed the fire only 200 meters from our warehouse. And on top of that, the fire brigade were there, and they didn't even let us through. So we are just 200 meters about losing everything. And my answer to him was, well, for this thing to happen to you, you only need to be in business. If you are in business, that you will have a job or you will have something else, these crazy things won't happen. But you only need to be in business, but something crazy like COVID, because it was literally crazy. And for me, twice. The COVID thing, and then the credit crush, because my main business was in property. So this kind of thing, I have experience in this. It's not the first one, already been there and survived it again, right? So tell us how you overcome adversity when things is tough and you have to rebuild again.
Sure. I think, there's a number of things. One is, are you doing your best? If you're honestly asking yourself, am I doing my best? So that gives you both motivation to do more if you can. And I think we're always not near our full capacity. So do I need to be smarter? Do I need to work harder? Do I need to have better relationships? Do I need to, have better product, have better customers, whatever. So that's one. The other one is, like you said, if it's out of your control. So how do we take the negative and turn it into positive potentially? In our case, COVID allowed us to rewrite our entire code base. So we're a 17-year-old company now with essentially brand new code that we released a year and a half, 2 years ago. We wouldn't have been able to do that if COVID wasn't there because of customer demands and everything else. When those started shutting down because we couldn't even go and install in someone's home, because the people we're working with are the older adults that should not have any contact with anyone. So based on that, we said, okay, what do? We rewrote lines of code and close to 400,000 lines of our own code within the larger libraries and all that. And every single line is now new. We actually sunsetted the entire code base of Independa. And nobody, like if somebody runs our platform, they'll see similar features. We added some features as we went, but we went from something like 400 database tables to 85. So we took that opportunity to do something positive. That's on a business level. Again, I go back to problem solving. That's no different than another problem that we have to solve. But you're saying, how do you solve big problems that are really damaging and fearful and all that? And I just have the saying for myself where I say my biggest problems are someone's dream if they're laying in a hospital bed. So to me, that makes all the problems sort of come into perspective. So it takes any kind of negative energy out, the kind of things you've done, Harry, where you rebrand yourself, redo yourself, relaunch, and here you are, you with all the same energy. I can't imagine you ever having more energy in the past.
So
But
many times.
but that's to me like if someone's in a hospital, they would love to have my problems, no matter what my problems. So I look at that and say, okay, let's put it in perspective. I'm still, healthy. I still have great people around me. I still have, all the issues that are the most important. I don't want to take for granted when it's most important not to take him for granted at that moment.
And probably things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Exactly.
There is something out there. There is a big lesson that the universe wants to show you, right? And sometimes this is a process that we have been through. Saying that, we had to deal with a lot of pressure. Okay.
Yeah. And
And
And similar, sorry to that, I love the expression, everything happens exactly as it should. If you really
Yeah, and
say that and you believe that, even though the ridiculous things that might happen, you might look at that and say, well, it's just normal. It's just the way it should be. Now, what do I do?
now it comes to my attention that checking some statistics, okay? 86% of solo entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs don't make more than $100,000 a year, right? So better to have a job, right? And rest Saturday and Sunday. So now we are left with the 14% that will make more than that to have employees and pay salaries and so on. And then after this small tiny percent, the last 5 years, tiniest percent, the last 10 years, look at you and me, 20 years on the line and it's still going. So I think that we are rare species in checking the statistics. So uh, and become more complex because it's not that we are rare species; it's that um, we only can talk or relate uh, with other entrepreneurs and everything that they're leading companies. So uh, this regarded there is a lot of information out there. Um, the entrepreneurial journey, it becomes sometimes quite lonely. I think that this is the main reason why I'm doing this podcast. It give me the pleasure to find amazing people like you, right? And I don't know anymore if I do this podcast for myself, for the people to listen it. I don't even know uh, what because that's been a very big reward for me, right? I'm doing it for the entrepreneurs. My process 0 to 1 million was a traumatic process, like everybody else here in this podcast. The 0 to 1. That's why I asked you about your 5 steps at the beginning, because it's a traumatic process. When we start 20 years ago, we don't know what we're doing, and we need to get product market fit and to sell our first million. We don't even know what pivot even means. We just and what marketing even means, and we are just trying and we don't know what we're doing, right? And my family, nobody's an entrepreneur, and most of the people out there, my parents are teachers, so they told me go to university and make sure that you get highest marks, so you will be a very good employee. Yeah, and then I'm still doing something different. They still don't understand what I'm doing, right? So, I so tell us, it becomes lonely at the top, or how you work in your mental health in terms to deal with the pressure and to keep yourself exactly like you are showing up today with a good energy, smiling, and this is what we're doing. But if tomorrow the market change, I'll be okay. I'll handle it, and we continue. So how you stay with this mindset is actually one of your steps, right? At the beginning, strong self.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? We got a little choppy. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Um, So two things. One is at a sort of philosophical level. On a personal level, if it can help your audience, I always think about things in terms of mind, body, spirit, and I always want to make sure I'm nurturing all three of them at all times, even on a daily basis. So, what does that mean? So, for my mind, of course, though it's a work and it's problem solving. But for instance, I used to play chess as a kid, and then I picked up chess just so I can solve problems more and more. And I figured that's going to also help the business. If I'm solving very complex problems, my mind may get used to multiple levels of solving problems. So I picked up chess for that many years ago. And chess.com, it's on my phone. I could play it, here and there. Um, and staying on top of information. So again, for the mind. For the body, we talked before we went live. I play a lot of soccer, and that's my main sport. So it keeps me busy, keeps me tired coming off the field. You don't get to think about anything else, and then your body's recovering. So it's all good. It kind of it rejuvenates your body. whether it's soccer or some other sports that people can do, I think it's important to move your body and get tired, and that releases certain hormones and gets you going and helps in other areas. And then for spirit, I actually, by the way, for body, strangely, I also play the drums a little bit. So I love the drums. It's very kinetic, very physical. And for spirit, I also play the piano a little bit. So that's very spiritual. You know, I get to play music and yeah, I enjoy it. No one's going to ever pay me to play, but I tell people I'm at a stage where they're not going to pay me not to play. So I
So,
just
so,
play. I play for myself, but that it definitely affects my like if I want to have a spiritual lift, I could just sit on the piano and do something, and you know it just amazes me the beautiful music that people have created, you know, over time.
so when did you have that breakthrough that because when I started, I just want to make a million and become a millionaire and have millions and I gotta make money. And that was everything that I was thinking about it. And I didn't care about my health, I didn't care about mind, I didn't care about spirit, I just want to make money 10 or 20 years ago. Whether today people call me, Harry, let's do this business. We're gonna get millions, we're gonna make millions. I'm like, well, what is it gonna take?
Yeah, yeah,
I play tennis, so how much time am I involving in that thing? And because I had to take exactly like you said, my mind, body, and spirit align, okay? And it becomes, and that has to be balanced, right? 20 years ago, I was eating whatever. Today, I take care of what I'm eating. If I can't prepare my own salad, that's something that is priceless for me, right? Because I like
yeah,
to eat a lot, yeah, a lot more than what I should. So I had to do some fasting and to prepare the salad and the type of work we do, especially when we are in London. Everybody invite you to eat. Harry is going to eat. Introduce me to this person. Harry is going to eat some. I'm outside eating all the
yeah.
time out, and you have to be careful what you order because so you learn all this on the way. So when do you realize yourself that hold on a minute, this thing, if I want to stay longer alive, is not only about making money. I had to be healthy, uh, physically and mentally, and I have to design my own formula. Otherwise, what you're gonna bring is stress to that company, and it won't be 20 years around. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, if you bring this stress to the company, everybody or your team will be stressed. You bring in the toxic environment, yes, you attract employees that are toxic as well. That's the first
Yeah.
place that they join the organization in the first place, right? Because you're toxic, so you're aligned with them, right? So whether if you are in flow, then everybody around you is in flow and this is a completely different dynamic. So when do you realize that anything happened in particular, or you study, you read a book?
I think it happened for me early on, Harry, in my school. When I was getting my master's program, I was also working full time, going to school full time. And for the first time, I decided I can do nothing but study and work. That's it. I didn't have a social life. I didn't do any sports. I didn't do any. I used to do martial arts. I gave that up. I played soccer all the time, gave that up, played tennis, gave that up. So did nothing. And, you know, my grades went down. I couldn't understand things as much. Everything was really, really hard. And I realized I really missed to do those things and let me try them. And when I tried them, supposedly I had less time to be successful, but everything became easier. So I never really left that my whole life. And you know, of course, family is super important if you have friends and family that you can hang out with. And that goes back to me for my spirit. But yeah, I realized that before Independa, before any kind of work, if I don't have all of those kind of lined up, and like you, I don't know if you said this, but I eat organic food, so whatever I buy is organic. You know, I'm a pescatarian, so I try not to eat too much meat at all, really. I have fish, But all that is aligned to sort of keep me going without the stress that you're talking about. I don't want to have cortisol. I don't have sleepless nights. You know, when people ask me what keeps you up at night, my answer is nothing keeps me up at night. I'm so tired, I go to bed and I'm sleeping. If I'm not tired when I go to bed, I shouldn't be going to bed.
So if someone is in love with the conversation, how people can find you, how this process work?
I don't know how they can find me. I guess they can find me certainly on LinkedIn. It's Kian, Kian, last name Saneii, Saneii. If they want to email me, they can email me at first initial last name at Independa, Independa. And I think that's it.
So thank you so much for the podcast. I really appreciate it. And
It's my pleasure.
for all of you following the podcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable. How brave entrepreneur like Sunny break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, Harry, and everyone listening in. Thanks for listening. Take care.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.